Be studying about is lists in Python, how various operations are performed on a list. So Ganesh won't be joining today, he's traveling, so we'll start the session. Okay. So like earlier we discussed what strings are, what lists are. So in short, what are the various data types in Python? So we covered number data types, we covered sequence data types and all. So yes, in earlier class we also studied what the string operations are, how we can perform various operations on a string data type. Today we would be learning how various operations are performed on a list. So as we know, first of all, lists are defined like this in square brackets, and it can have a string, it can have a number or anything in it. So when I say this is a normal list which has different data types in it, it has a string data type, it has a number data type, it can also have a, let's say, float data type as well. So whatever you say, it can have alphanumeric characters as well, like this. And on the contrary, a list a list can be a nested list also. What do we mean by a nested list? When a list has lists in it. When we have list within a list, it is called a nested list. So let's say I define a list L1. I'll just zoom it. Let's say I define a list L1 which has some characters, some string operations, some string values in it, and I have inserted another list in it. So let's say it is a list of numbers, any number. Let's say anything, you put it, anything. So I have nested a list within a main list. This is a secondary list or a list within a list, a small list within a list L1. So when I run this and when I print this, so see, I get all these things. This is a list 1, this is list 2, which is a nested list. So it has nested list in it. Now, like we did, what I say, indexing in strings, same way we have indexing in lists as well. What does basically indexing mean? It is to traverse a list, to move across a list, to travel through a list is called indexing. Again, just like strings, lists also have their indexes starting from 0. The first index in a list, just like a string, is a 0 index. So let's say I have this list L. So this is the 0 index, this is 1 index, this is index 2, 35.7 is index 3, and this is index 4. So again, just like we used to do in strings, we'll perform the same steps over here. So let's say I want to access index 4. So that's how we access the indexes, that's how we access the values within a list. Now let's say we want to find out what is at index 0. Avan is at index 0. So what is at index 4? Index 3, let's say. So that is 35.7. Similarly, we have this list which is a nested list. So let's say what is at index 1. And also, you might be noticing that thing. At times I am typing print L, at times I am just writing L over here. Like over here I am writing just L and it prints the list for me. So Jupyter Notebook allows you to print a statement without writing the print keyword in front of it. That's the feature in a Jupyter Notebook. That's how you can put it. But in other platforms like PyCharm or etc., where you might be working down the line in your career, so over there you have to put it like this, print. You have to give a print statement, and then in parentheses you have to add the value that you need to print. So either ways it works. Like over here I printed L1. This is what I did, print L1. If I'll type L1 also, it will print the same result. But this works in Jupyter Notebook only. If you'll work on other platforms like PyCharm or PySpark or anything, or into cloud services where you also have Jupyter Notebooks, there it won't support. You have to give explicitly print, just like here in line number 9. you have to mention print and then what you need to print. So like we were indexing through a nested list. So okay, what would be, everyone, I need to ask you something. What would be the index for this part, this nested list? If I want to, okay, the task is, there is a nested list in list L1, print the nested list for me. So I want each and every one of you to type your statement in the chat box on the chat. That how would you do this thing? Don't answer me, just write it in the chat box. The task is, this is the list. You have to print the nested list out of it. How would you index that nested list? How would you reach out to the next nested list? The task is in front of you. I need you to answer it. Write it in the chat box. I'll just put this string in the chat box itself. Now you need to tell me what is the index for the nested list over here. Just type the index over here. What is the index if I want to print the nested list out of this list that is in the chat box with you guys? Just give me a number. That's it. Need not to write the entire thing. I know you'll be able to write the entire thing. Just give me the index number. Okay. L13. Uday says L13. Others? Abhishek, Harshita, Rushmita. What is your index, guys? Okay. Abhishek says same. So he has also L13. Harshita, Rushmita. So Abhishek, okay, you are mentioning 3, but you have to put it in the square brackets, not parenthesis. Okay. Harshita? No worries, Abhishek. You are in a learning phase, that's okay. Harshita, are you there?
Yes, sir, typing.
Okay. Aram se, no worries. Take your time. Okay, you guys are saying L13. I'll try L13. That won't give me the correct answer. Guys, when I am doing this thing, I'll explain you once more, not a problem. Index starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Avin is index 0, Seth is index 1. This nested list is, guys, index 2. Index 3, what you have mentioned, is MBA. 2013 is index 4. So when I want to print the nested list out of this thing, my result would come out when I take it as index 2. Always remember, whenever you are counting, just a simple thumb rule, whenever you are counting in Python, you have to count from 0. Whether it is a string, let's say I have s is equal to oven. Now, if I say I need to print a out of it, so A is 0. 0, 1, 2, 3. I'll take it as 0. It will give me A. If I say I want to print I, I'll take 0, 1. Every counting starts with 0 in Python. Every index, every starting value starts with 0 in Python. So, the nested list, this one, where I have numbers in it, that is at index 0. Sorry, that is at index 2, because 0, I count from here, Avin, 0, Seth is index 1, this thing is index 2, MBA is index 3, 2013 is index 4. So like I put over here in line number 12 over here, so when I say L13, which is index 3, it gave me MBA as the result. If I say index 4, so L1 index 4, it gives me 2013. When I say index 2, it gives me the nested list. Now, what if I want to save this nested list into another variable? Okay, there is someone waiting at the lobby. Okay. Okay. So, what I was telling you is, guys, every counting in Python starts with 0. I am explaining it again. The indexing in Python, whether it's a string, a list, a tuple, a dictionary, anything, whenever it's about indexing or whenever it's about traversing a list, traveling through a list, traveling through a string, traversing a string, every count starts from 0. The first count starts from 0. So this is 0th index, this is first index, this is index 2. So if I want to print this one, I have to reach out to index 2 to get this result. Fine. Now let's say I want to save this value. I had told you earlier also, we can save the results. Let's say I create another list 3 equal to L12. So whatever value L12 gives me gets assigned, gets saved into L3, which is another list. When I run this, and when I print this, I'll have L3 as this, which is a new list for me. Now let's say somebody comes down and asks you, tell me the first element of list L3. How would you do that? Again, first element, you start counting from 0. When it say ask for the second element, you count from 0, 1. This is 2. Okay, second element, fine. But the count is 0 and 1. Remember. So when they ask you second element, you have to just subtract 1 from it and put it in the list. When they ask you the third element, you have to 3 minus 1, 2. So L2. So it will be L32. It gives me this number. When I say print me the second element in the list, what I'll do is, it's asking for second. So I'll go with L3 second, 2 minus 1. I'll go with 1. It gives me this element. Is indexing and counting clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, like we had slicing in strings, we have slicing in lists as well. How do we do that? Now, let's take the same list, L1. The list L1 has all these elements. Now I just want to need to slice this string, this list, into just from Seth till MBA. Okay. So the starting point is 0, 1. Starting is 1. I need to start from 1. This bigger one is 2. And this third one is MBA. I want to go till 3. But as I told you earlier, like in strings, so when we slice it, so it's like start point and end point. But the result gives us but the result set is start point till end point minus 1. Now, when I want 1, see, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, the list, nested list, this is 2, this is 3, MBA, this is 3. But I want this 3 to be printed. So I'll go one step ahead because it gives me 4 minus 1 third element. So how it will go about is, I'll just put a comment over here. Yeah. So what I'll do is L1, I'll start from 1 colon till what time I'm going, till what point, what index I'm going. I need till 3, but I'll take it 4 1 because it will give me till 3. So it gives me 1, this 2 1 and MBA, because this is what I wanted to print. If you would say, Avin, okay, why don't we go till 3? It will give me 1 lesser every time. Fine. So this is the thumb rule, that it gives you result 1 lesser than the end point, end index. End index minus 1 is what you get as a sliced list when you are slicing a list. Same works with the strings as well, like we did earlier. Same thing works with the strings as well. Now let's say we'll take another example. Let's say we start from 0 and we want till list number 2. This one, the nested list. I want to include nested list. So this is 0, 1, 2. I'll go till this one. Then only I'll get this one. So this is 3. So when I say 0 to 3, it will give me till the nested list. Fine. So when you are slicing a list, the start point is where the list will pick it up. Always remember the counting starts with 0. It will pick it up from the very start point. If you are putting 1, it will take index 1 in the list. If you are putting 2, it will take index 2 in the list. But the end point, till the element that you want to print, note the count of that element, add 1 to it and put it in your slicer. This slicing expression. Put it into your slicing expression, 1 more than the point, the index that you want to have printed as an output. If I want third element in the list, third index in the list to be printed, I'll put the endpoint as 4. If I want the second element, second index to be printed in output, I'll put the endpoint as 3. If I want the first index to be printed in the list, I'll put the endpoint as 2. Let's say L1 0 to 2. It will give me just the first 2. Fine. This is my list. This is 0, 1, this is 2. So it gives me 2 minus 1, which is this one, 1. This is how slicing works in a list. Again, like we had reverse indexing in this thing up now, strings, we have reverse indexing in lists as well. So when I say L1 minus 1, it would give me, let's say I'll print the list again for you guys. L1 is this. Now let's say I want to get the last element from the list. I can do it in 2 ways. One is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll put 4. I'll get 20, 13. Let's say I want to have the last element again. I'll put it minus 1. Let's say I want to have the second last element. I'll put minus 2. Let's say I want to print the third last element in the list. I'll put minus 3. Minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. Sorry, L1 minus 3. Let's say L1 minus 4. I'll get set. L1 minus 5. I'll get oven. L1 0. I'll get oven. So this way, the reverse indexing starts with -1. The positive indexing for forward indexing starts with 0. I'll give a footnote to it. Forward indexing in lists, tuples, strings start with index 0 from the left hand side, whereas reverse indexing in lists, tuples, strings starts from index -1 from the right hand side. Another point, while slicing a list, string, list, tuple or a string, the start point is the starting index and the end point will be end point -1 in the output. So this is something, these are the thumb rules that you need to remember, need to learn, need to by heart it. Whatever way you have to learn or remember these things, just make a note of it, because this will come in and out to you while you are working, while you are practicing strings, or while you are practicing lists, pythons, etc., or whenever you are performing things. Okay. Now, let's say I have my list L over here. Let's say I want to check whether I have certain value, where I need to check whether something is present in list or not. So I need to get a result as true or false. Let's say print oven in L. Let's say we try that one. Let's say print oven in L. Again, see, it is giving as error. Name L is not defined. Why? Because Python is case sensitive. I have put L in capitals. When I put L, which is a small l, it will give me the result. So remember that Python is case sensitive. Okay. Now what this thing does is, this is basically searching through a list. So let's say I'm checking how to remember this and how to read this. It's simple. Is oven in list L1? If it is there, it will give me yes. If it is not there, it will give me no, false. So let's say print abhi in L. It will give me false. There is no abhi in the list. So that's how we can traverse, we can search a list. We can check whether a particular element is present in a list or not. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now we can also add elements to a list, to an existing list. How to do that? Now my list L1 says these are the elements in list L1. Let's say I want to add few names to the list. So L1 plus, let's say, Abhi, Rushmita. So see, Abhi and Rushmita got added to my list. Let me define this. Let me make this as my L4. So when I print L4, I have two more elements in my list, Abhi and Rushmita. This step, what I did over here, this is list concatenation. Understand? I'm concatenating two lists over here. I'm adding elements to a list. I'm adding new things to a list. That is all what we call as list concatenation. You can call it anything: adding elements to a list, updating a list, creating a new list, anything that you feel like. Now, guys, again, I'm asking you a question. Okay, from my list L4 above, I need to print Rushmita. How would you do that? Put your answers in the chat box. Make it quick. Make it quick. Put your answers in the chat box. Print Rushmita from list L4. That's it. Use reverse indexing, use forward indexing, whatever you feel like. I should have the correct answer this time. Good one, Abhishek. Good one, Harshita. Okay. Uday, thanks. Okay. Okay, Rushmita. Let's say L4. There I've got two answers. One is L46. Sorry. My bad. L46. Okay, great. We got Rushmita. One is L4 minus 1. Guys, good. You've understood the point. Now, let's say how to replace elements in a list. How do we do that? How do we replace it? So let's say my it's L4. I'm taking L4 only. This is the list L4. Let's say I want to replace 2013 with some another number or with a name, anything. So what we'll do is we'll take L4. We'll take the index at which 2013 is. This is 0. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. Or this is minus 1. Abhi is minus 2. This is minus 3. Let's take minus 3. I'm assigning it to a new value. Harshita. Fine. Now let's print L4 and check. Oh, we have Harshita over here in place of 2013. We can do the same thing with positive indexing as well. How to do that? Let's do it. Let's see. We have this at, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. So this is 4. Let's say Harsh. We got Harsh over here. So that's how we replace elements in a list. How to replace elements in a list. Now remember, why are we able to do every replacement, concatenation, updation in the list? Because the basic rule for a list in Python is that lists are mutable. Lists can be changed. Updations, deletions, insertions can be made in a list. Same thing cannot happen with tuples. That's what we learned in the very first lecture, data types in Python. Now, next thing that we are going to study is how to extend and append a list. There are two terms. I'll just minimize this thing. Yeah. So let's add some rows below so that it is visible. Okay. Now, there are, what do you say? What I was telling? Yeah. There are two things in a list. One is extend and another is append. Now, sorry, extend, not intend. Oven, it's extend. Okay. So how do we do this? Oh, exactly. Basically, what does extend and what does append mean? I'll show it to you practically and then I'll explain to you what it means. Let's say I'll again take the same list. Let's say we take list L3. Not L3, let's take list L1. This is smaller one. L4 has got congested, filled up with a lot of things. Let's start with L1 only. Now, when I say I'll do the practical and then I'll explain you what extend and append means. Let's say L1 dot extend. Fine. Now let's try printing L1. When I print L1, what do you see? After 2013, I have this 1, 2, 3, 4 added within the list. Right? So, this is also how we update a list. But there's a difference between extend and append. I'll come down to what append is. I'll take the same thing. I'll just change extend with append. Just watch it carefully. Just give it a thought. Now, this is one output. This is another output. What's the difference? When you are extending, every element that you add gets added as a single element in a list, not as a combined together. But when I'm doing append, it picks it up as a single element and gets stored as a nested list within the existing list. Is it clear? Hello? So, what?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, what exactly is happening? What extend does is extend adds individual elements to a list. Whatever you will pass over here, I'll show it to you again. Say L1 dot extend. Sorry, where it is? L1 dot extend. Say I add Sahil, Rahul, Mehul, whatever. Now, when I print L1, so what you see over here, Sahil, Rahul, Mehul got added to the list, but individually. Single element got added to the list. Right? When I'm doing the same thing, when I just append it, what would I get? I got this entire thing as a list added to my existing list. What's the advantage of this thing? Why am I telling you what is extend and what is append? So when you are working with big data frames, I'm sorry, data frame is something that will come down and learn when we are studying pandas, numpy, pandas, and everything. Then we'll come around what is a series, what is a data frame. Just just understand it when you are working with tables, just like you work in SQL. You have different columns in it. Let's say in a particular column, I want to add some more values. I'll extend that column. Let's say in a particular cell in a list, I want to add some more elements. I'll append that list. I'll add some bunch of elements together which I want them to be together. So that is what the difference between extend and append is. Append adds a whole list as an extra element to the list, just like a nested list. So it creates a nested list. It nests a new list to the existing list. It adds a new list to the existing list. It, or in other words, whatever you give it to append, it will pick it up as it is and put it in the list. Whereas in extend, whatever you put in the extend version, in the extend statement, every individual element gets picked up and becomes part of the existing list to which you are extending it. In English also, let's take it in a layman language. What is extend, what is append? Let's say, okay, let's say in a playground, in a school assembly, there are rows of students which are standing for the morning prayer. Let's say a teacher comes and says, okay, make a line. A line got formed. Another teacher comes and says, extend that line. So few students will come down and become part of that line. When I say append the line, those students might not be the part of that class, but the line short, there's a shortage of space, so a few students from class 6th A joined the line for class 6B. So that is called appending. I can separate that thing. I can remove that thing at any point of time. I can pick up that bunch and take it outside the list anytime easily, when because I want all that section to be together. So that is appending. Extending is just adding things to the list. I hope that is clear.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Hello.
Yeah, Uri.
Sir, can we do nested of nested? Like append L1 dot append, then we can do another nested into that same
We
loop.
can try it out. We can try it out. What you are saying?
Without putting it into another value. Like the whole L1 should not go into another value. Can we append another time?
We can be append other append.
Yeah, yes.
So what you are saying is, what I understand.
Like if we go more values, then it will create confusion, right?
So let's say what you are saying is this. You are saying append this one.
Yeah, the whole.
So this will append the whole thing only. So what you are
Yeah.
saying is I am appending this thing like this.
Yes.
And so it will work. I think so it will work. I have never tried that out. Let's work it out. Nice thing. Let's say 10, 20. Let's take it this way. No, it didn't work.
Okay.
So, but let me just check it out doing this way. No, it doesn't work. Let me check out doing this way. This should work. This will work. Why did it work? Now let's print L1. So, it didn't work. What did it do? 10, 20. My list L1 was this much only. Sahil, Rahul, Mehul. It added Sahil, Rahul, Mehul 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 more times. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let me see again. It's adding a row every time. Okay, so see, I don't know why this thing is happening, but when you said you need to append something to an existing append, why this thing happened and why without these square brackets it didn't happen? The reason for that thing is you are appending a list. Fine. When I am doing this thing without the square brackets, without putting this entire thing, what I have selected, not into square brackets, it doesn't know that it is a list. But when I'm putting this entire thing into square brackets, it takes it as a new list. You understand? Now let's say I take this one only. I'm just bifurcating it to explain you. Let's say I put L5 is equal to this thing. This is what we did earlier. Fine. So now
Yes.
print L5. What the hell?
There's no L5.
No, I have created L5 right now. Yeah, I just created L5. Print L5.
No sir, there's no already in like L5 already exists नहीं है sir, list नहीं है उसका.
Okay. नहीं, you are saying that L5 doesn't exist.
हाँ, list नहीं है sir उसका.
Oh, okay. Wahi, I was explaining the same thing only, but no, it is not working. Um, let me see. Print L1. So this is L1. Let's say I do L5 is equal to L1. Let me print L5. Okay, I got L5. Fine. So thing is, let's take it back again. Let's take another list L3. So this is L3. Let's say L3 dot append. I append certain elements to it. Oven, set. Fine. Now when I print L3, I get this. Now I want to append something more to this thing. So instead of doing over here, what I was doing is I was doing append over here. Now what you said, if we append this thing, say we append this thing, let's say we extend this thing, not append. Let's see what comes out. Sorry. Let's say extend it with Uday. Now let's print L3. What it is doing, it is just putting the last elements that I have added again. It is extending those only. Whatever you give it over here, it is doing the same thing. It is just adding one of this to my list, and this is absurd. This doesn't happen anytime. But if you want to do this activity, what you can do is you can, let's say L4 is equal to L3. I assign L4. I print L4. Now when I'm L4 dot extend, let's say Uday, and print L4, it will give me Uday in the list. So clearly this thing doesn't work. You can't append then extend append to the existing things. That's what it shows. Right Uday?
Yes sir.
Okay. Now we have added a lot of elements to the list. What say we want to delete those elements? So how we can do that? So there is something called deleting elements from a list. How do we do that? Simply, there is a keyword delete. Let's say I delete from L4 only. Let's say I delete the last element. Okay, now let's print L4. So Uday is removed. Let's say delete the first element. Delete L4 index 0. Let's say we print L4 again. So this number is gone. This is how delete works. Let's say delete another one. Delete L4. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say I delete last one, this oven set. So let's print. So oven set is gone. This is how delete works. There are other ways also to delete. You can delete within a range also, rather than deleting a single element. Again, that works in the same way like we do slicing. So delete L4. Let's say I want to delete 0 and 1. This first and the second one. So 0. We'll start with 0. This is 1. What we'll do is we'll take 2 to delete this, because end minus 1. When I run this and print L4, my first two elements are gone. I'm getting these two only. So that's how you can delete in slicing as well. You can delete element also from the list, and mind it, once they are deleted, they are lost. You cannot retain them, you cannot recover them. So delete operations should be carried out very much judicially, very much safely, because once delete operation is run, you cannot get those values back. You'll have to add those values by extend or append or by concatenation like we did earlier. But let's say you want to use a deleted element, you want to save a deleted element. So to make use of the deleted value from the list, or to store the deleted element from the list, we use something called pop. How does pop work? Delete is we are deleting from something. Pop is we are popping out an element from the list, just like your popcorns pop up in the popcorn making machine. So what you do is L4 dot pop. What I'm popping when I just say this, it pops up the, by default it pops up the last element in the list. Now my L4 has gone very small. Let's check out what is there in other lists. Let's say what is in L. Okay, let's take it L. So L dot pop. When I say L dot pop, sorry. So if I just leave it like this, it will remove the last element from the list. See, it will give me the last element, that this is the last element that you want to remove, but my list will remain, that element would be removed from the list. When I say L1 dot L dot pop, it shows me that this element has been removed. If I don't specify anything in the parenthesis, in the brackets, it will pop out the last element automatically. Now I can save this element. Let's say x is equal to L dot pop and print x. Sorry, now it has been updated. Sorry, let's take it again. Yeah, let's take it again. L plus, let's add these elements. So my list L is now this. L is equal to this. My list L is this. This was my original list. Let's start it all over again. What is pop? So when you want to delete an element from the list, but you want to use that deleted element as well. Understand? So my list L is this one, what you can see in line 106 output. Now L dot pop. Let's say I save it in some element x is equal to L dot pop and I print x. So this is the element x that I have saved now. If I would have just delete L minus 1, if I would have done this delete L minus 1, then this element would have gone. I couldn't have stored it, I couldn't have used it. But let's say I'm just experimenting on this list. I want to work only on this part of the list. So I pop an element from the list and save it. Later on, I can do this way, L plus X. Can concatenate list not. Okay, this is a string. So, yeah, remember, like what we say that numbers can be added to numbers, right? You cannot add a string value to a number. You cannot say 2 plus oven. You can just say 2 plus 2. So similarly, only lists can be added to a list. So let's say I want to add this element back to my list. Now what my list looks like, it doesn't have this element in it. Let's say I want to add this one. So if I do L is equal to L plus X, it gives me an error. Can only concatenate list to a list, not a string. How to do that? I can just typecast that element and add it to my list. So, but when I'm converting it to a list, so it will pick it up as a single element, a string, because when I remember when what I explained you earlier, uh, sorry, what where yeah, this is what we learned. Yeah. So when I'm splitting it, remember, whenever I split a list, I get a split a string, I get a list. Whenever I split a string, I get a list. But when I'm typecasting it, typecasting, yeah. Whenever I typecast a string, let's say when I typecast this thing, when I typecast a string, where is a string? String operations कहाँ है यार मेरे? String operations, yeah. So these are strings, strings. Sorry. Reverse string, Python, slicing, upper, title, apply, swap case, yeah. So this was my string. When I'm typecasting it, it picks up every element and puts it in a list. But when I'm splitting it, when I split it, it puts uh, every element as a part of list. So that's what happened over here. So don't get scared about that, what happened, why this has been split into every single element. This is just I'm explaining you that thing, that any element that you pop out from a list can be used again. But if you delete an element from a list, you won't be able to use it again. By default, if nothing is mentioned in the parenthesis, it picks up the last element, it pops out the last element from the list. Let's say now my list looks like this. This is my list. Let's say I want to pop out set. So what I can do is l.pop index 1. List object cannot be interpreted as integer. So let's say I want to pop out index 1. So this is how we pop out a specific index, and we can save it into a particular element as well. Say y is equal to this. But now it would be 34 because the list already got updated. See, 34. So that's how pop works out. Now my existing list looks like this. It has all these elements. Let's say I put another element, z is equal to list l dot pop 0. Fine. Now when I say print z, I have oven in it because I have converted it into a list. Hold on. Just focus on this highlighted part. This says pop 0th element. So 0th index is oven. I changed it into a list. This is a string. When I'm changing it into a list, it will separate every element and put it in a list. Understand? So this is just how you can play around with typecasting, addition, addition, pop element, delete element out of a list. So only one part is left. Another thing, that if the call gets disconnected, please join again. Only two more important points are left in list operations. I want to cover that also. So let's say l dot, I have another thing, l dot remove. So when I want to remove, I can directly put the element into it. Let's say I want to remove 35.7. So l dot remove 35.7. Right, now when I print l, there won't be 35.7 because only this would be left. Oven has already been popped from the list. So only these elements are left in my list. That's what I get. So there are 4-5 different ways how you can remove an element. Ways to remove elements from a list. First one is delete, second one is pop, third one is remove. Got it? So this is how things work out. Delete, pop, and remove are the ways to remove elements from a list. Now let's say I have a list. Say x is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 3, 3, 3. Let's say I want to count the appearance of the number 3. So x dot count 3. It gives me 3 appears 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 1, 2, 3 and 4 times. Let's say x dot count 5. So 5 comes out to be 2 times, 1 and 2. So x dot count 45. It comes once. So that's how count works in a list. Now there are other operations also which are sorting and everything, that we'll cover it tomorrow. So this is how various operations, various things work on a list. What we covered today was basic operations on a list. Delete, pop, remove are important ones. Work on them. Try to practice more and more. Yeah, Rushmita.
uh, Clearing the list.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. I am just telling you slowly. We'll cover that. There are other parts also, sorting a list, clearing a list, all those things. So let's say L dot clear. So print L. I have a zero list. My entire list is deleted. You understand? This was L. This was L. I can clear the list directly. L dot clear. My list would be clear. My list would be completely deleted, removed from its existence. So that is what clear is, what Rushmita mentioned. So the next topic that we are going to work on is sorting a list. So let's say how sorting happens. Sorting is when we are putting a list into ascending or descending order. We are arranging the elements of a list or the contents of a list in a ascending or descending order. Let's say I have a list LST which has numbers in it. So this has 20, 10, 5, 1, 2 and so on. When I print this list, I get this result. Now let's say I want to sort this list in an ascending order. So by default, there is a function called sort, dot sort. So when I say list dot sort, that's a syntax over here. List dot sort, it arranges all the elements of the list and gives us the result of the list in an ascending order. When I run lst dot sort, let me just do this again, lst dot sort and print it, I get the result in the ascending order. All the elements are arranged in the ascending order. Let's say I want to print the list in a reverse order. So the simple thing is, what you do is lst dot sort and then pass it as reverse equal to true. Always mind it, true has to be written in this way, T capital, and remaining all elements in a small case. Sorry, the spellings were wrong. So it's reverse. So now when I print the list, print lst, I'll get all the elements in the reverse order, which is in the descending order. Now let's say I'll explain you what is shallow cop. Shallow copying is something when you are copying the contents of one list to another list. So let's say I have a list A which is a list of fruits, and I create another list and equate it to A. So let's say list B is equal to list A. So all the elements what are present in list A will be copied directly to list B as it is, completely without any change. So when I run this, see, list A is this one and list B is this one. Let me just make it for clarity. List A, sorry, list A is this one, and let me say list B, this is this one. What is happening? Yeah. So this is list A and this is list B. Now how I can change the elements in a list? How to update elements in a list? It's a simple thing. Just the basic indexing. You pick up any index and assign any new value to that particular index. The list will be updated. Let's say I change the index 0, which is apple, in the list A to strawberry. When I do this, so the new list A looks like this, and new list B looks like this, because B is equated to A, so any change that I would make to list A will automatically get reflected to list B. See over here. So the list A is strawberry, apple has been replaced by strawberry. Same thing happened to list B as well. Now let's say I don't want to do this thing. Say I really don't want to make changes in the list B, even though I have shallow copied it. Fine. I don't want to make, I just want if any change that is made in list A should not go to list B. So what I can do is I can pass B equal to A square brackets a colon in it. What it does is whatever my list A has, it gets changed if I'm making any changes to list A. But list B, there won't be any changes. List B won't be affected. List B would remain the same. How this thing happens. So A0 is mango. Let's say print list A after change. So when I run this, you see, before change the list is this. This is list B, right? And list A, the changes has happened, and strawberry has been changed to mango. So this is something, I'll change it. This is list A, sorry, list B, not before change. This is list B after changing list A. So list B, there is no change. There is no change. It was mango, so it is mango only. Sorry, it was strawberry, so it is strawberry only. Let's say I change this one to, let's say, guava. When I run this, my list B remains the same with mango, and list A changes to guava. That is how we make sure that if I make a change to one list, the other list remains the same. So this is another form of shallow copying. Now if I change another thing, if I change it to apple, so list A will remain, list change will happen in list A, but list B, which was like this with mango, it will remain the same. List B will remain the same. So this is what we were looking forward to complete in lists. So